Hi, as it was requested, I'm gonna make a event tutorial on how to make them. And well, this is pretty in-depth stuff, so I'm gonna make an entire series of this with several episodes detailing different parts and tips and tricks and instruction on how to make certain events and make certain things happen. So first you need to make yourself a mod folder. Use the one in the base game, but be aware of that. Either way, you need to go to the events folder and make yourself a new text file with whatever name, anything goes, and or edit an existing event file if you want to modify something or add something to already existing file. So yeah, so in this episode I will talk about the basics, not how to add things, but tell you what different things are, what their purpose is and what they can be used for. So let's open a file. I'm currently having the Yugoslav Wars mod as an example. So let's open up Yugoslav events. So the first event in this mod is had to turn on the cursor, or this would be very hard for you to understand. Anyway, the first event in this mod that I made is the first Serbian head of state replacement. You don't have to have a title when you make events above the event itself, but it makes it easier to find certain events and know what you're looking at pretty easy. So you have to add one of these square symbols before the title, which means the computer should ignore everything that comes after it on that row, as so you can use it as a comment row. Or you can also, I believe, if you make a comment, copy that, then add it after another row. So that's possible too, in case you want to comment on a row that there is already something on, so it doesn't have to be empty before it. Really useful to know exactly what you're looking at without going in depth reading the different mechanics of the event. So anyway, to the event itself, this, as you can see, is a country event, which means it affects the entire country you're playing as. Other kinds of events are province events, which only affects a province. I don't have any experience with those, I don't exactly know how they work, but they also exist. And in HOI 4, I should say this is for HOI 3, this tutorial, but in a later episode I will also show off some stuff for HOI 4, but for the most part it's pretty similar, but everything isn't the same. So anyway, if you see this red symbol, this one, this means that after it states what kind of event it is, the event itself starts here. Then you can see there's another red symbol down here. That's where the event ends. So everything between the one at the top and the one down here, everything in between is the event itself. And now in order to the game to find an event, it needs to have an ID, in this case 1950. Make sure you pick a number that's not already picked by the game, the base game or another mod. That can screw things up. So make sure you pick a unique ID. So in case you got a search function on your text editor, I can show it off quickly like this. You can let's search in files 1950, match the whole word. It's all in Swedish here, but the functions are the same. Search all. Down here you can see it searched the my mods event folder, and it only found one instance in line 3 in this file, the one I showed you. So it's unique. There are no other instances of any other events having that ID. So it's unique, and they should be unique because otherwise it screws things up. Then you got the title, which well, you can write random stuff in the title and it shows up in the game, but this is a pretty basic thing and really impractical way of doing it. So what well, it says specified that this row is the title, and that inside the quote marks this part the name itself is, but it isn't really the name. It's an ID, the same as this one is, and this ID goes into the localization file and folder. So in this case it's short for EVT event name, the same as title, and 1950, the same as the ID. So if we quickly open up localization and Yugoslav text, here you can see that event name 1950, and here you can see the actual title. So the reason why there is like this and not the name is the text is directly in the event file is because it would take so much space in the event file and just look very hard to read and be in the way. So well, you would like to avoid that even if you don't have to. And then you got the desk, which is the description. It's the same here, but instead of name it's desk. But really you can make the ID in here whatever you want, as long as you link to it. So we basically can put random stuff 1, copy that, put that here, and it would actually work. You just need to make sure the IDs are the same and they are in the right place. And then you got the picture for an event. For that you go into the GFX folder, pictures, and events. Here you got some in the mod, which you can make references to. Copy and paste that. No, the event picture is the constitutional. Or you can put anything you like there, even a custom event picture if you add that. And now to the important bits. The trigger. Are you triggered yet? The trigger is the thing that launches or starts the event, so it doesn't remain active all the time or just spams. It requires certain things to happen or be happening in order for the event itself to happen. As you can see, there are a beginning and an end, as with the country event. So this is where it starts, this is where the trigger starts, this is where the trigger ends. One trigger you can see is tag, which means the country ID, which in this case is N04, a custom country tag, a country ID, which is Serbia in this mod. And then you can see that it requires the head of state to be this minister ID, which is Branko Kostic. He needs to be head of state, and that it has not to have the country flag, which is it's a sort of mark that indicates that a certain thing has happened or should happen. So in order for the event to happen, you have to not have the country flag first Serbian minister replacement. And as you can see that went green, it went green down here as well, which you can see once you accept the event, you gain that country flag or mark first Serbian minister replacement, which means once you have accepted the event, you can't get the event again, since it requires you to not have that flag. You can also see it requires the year to be 1936 and the month to be June. So combine that, it's June 1936. So if all these things fits, the event will launch, which is this event basically always happens, since Serbia tends to always exist half a year into the game. There is no other scripted changes, so Branko Kostic will be the head of state. He's the starting head of state. The event has not already happened when the game starts, and it has not already been June 1936. So there's almost 100% chance, or basically 100% chance, that this event will happen. But if for some reason this are not fulfilled, the event will not happen. But it's very unlikely due to these triggers being very easy to fulfill. And then you get to the actions, or what happens when you accept or pick a choice in the event. Then there's when you come to option. You can have multiple options. So if you copy the option and make a new one, you will have two options. So just there's a reasonable limit to when they start looking very ugly on the screen if you have too much of them. But if you want to add another option, you just copy and paste and change what the option contains to make different ones. But for now, let's just have one. As with the title and description, there is a name to the event with an ID, a localization text ID as well, and that's what the text option button says. So in this case I have a comment here which says what the text button says. So this text ID is the same as what the comment says, understood. But it's not using this is just a comment to see quickly in the file what this one actually means. So if you go here, you will see that here it says understood. But this one and that is the same thing. it's just directing the game to another file. And then, well, in this case it doesn't really matter since you only have one option, but using AI chance, that's the likelihood for the want of the AI to pick an option. So in this case the factor is 100, which is basically 100% chance of the AI picking it. It's 100 anyway since there is only one option, but if you make 2, then you can like have say 70% chance of the first option and 30 on the below, or add even more options and have that be 20 and the third 10% chance. And I described the country flag earlier. It's a mark. You can put everything like Serbian minister does random things. You can copy that, place that over there. It works. It can be whatever you want. The flags are used for telling the game to do things when a certain thing has happened, or making the game remember that a certain thing has happened or should happen. I will come with more examples in future videos. And then you got well, what is this about? This event about? It's about Serbian head of state replacement. So, as I said earlier, if the country got as head of state Branko Kostic, he will be removed as minister. So this removes minister and his minister ID, which is the same as it requires him being head of state to trigger, and he's being replaced as a new head of state by Dobrika Kosic. So you can see here that the head of state appears twice, both in the option in the trigger. But since well, it's the same command, but this is used for two different purposes. Here in the trigger to check who is head of state, and in the option to change head of state. So it's the same command in both the trigger and option, but it does different things depending on in which one it is. So yeah, that's the first episode of this series. May have gone on long enough, maybe hard to listen to, but it may be one of the better things you get. So but before I end this, I have in the description made a RAR file with an example, two example event files. This one I showed you here, and one for HOI 4 for Korean events I added for another mod for that game. There you can experiment, try different things, look how it's done, how I have done, and well, most things I have learned about this is just by experimenting. Try to see what can be done, how it can be done, doing it in a different way. Just experimenting and trying what you can do. That's how I can do the stuff I can. And well, you can as well. Try it out and change things around until it works, at least decently. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you can mostly make it work, then it's good enough. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video if you're still interested in this.